picture this, all right, sun-drenched sand dunes and these little flashes of emerald green zipping around.
Sounds idyllic.
It is, and those flashes of green are the incredible sand lizard.
Yeah.
That's our deep dive today.
Very cool.
And we are going to get into their world.
Hmm.
And it's a lot more interesting than a lot of people might think.
It is. They're fascinating little creatures.
Yeah, so what is it about sand lizards that make them so unique and important?
Well, one of the things is they can tell us a lot about the health of the environment.
Okay, so they're like a canary in a coal mine.
Exactly. Their presence or absence can be an indicator of the overall well-being of the ecosystem.
So how does a lizard become an environmental indicator?
Well, sand lizards are specialists.
Okay.
They need very specific conditions to survive.
Right.
Sunny, sandy habitats, places where they can burrow and bask in the sun.
Gotcha.
And they have a very specialized diet.
Yeah.
They rely on a narrow range of insects. So if those insects start disappearing,
Uh-oh.
the lizards will too.
So basically, if we're seeing fewer sand lizards, it's a sign that something's off in the ecosystem.
Precisely. It could be any number of things. Habitat loss, pollution, climate change, all these things can disrupt the balance these lizards need.
And that makes protecting them all the more important. But before we get into that, let's talk about what makes them so interesting.
Sure.
You mentioned their bright green color, especially the males.
Yes. During the breeding season, the males develop this vibrant green coloration. It's really quite striking.
Is that just for attracting a mate?
It's definitely a major factor. That vibrant green is like a signal to the females advertising their fitness.
So like a peacock's tail.
Exactly. It's a way of saying, hey, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm a good choice for a mate.
That makes sense. What about the female sand lizards? Do they have any cool features?
They do. They've evolved camouflage to blend in with their surroundings.
Clever.
They have brownish tones and intricate patterns that help them avoid predators.
So it's all about survival.
Absolutely.
Now, we talked about how they need these sunny habitats.
Yes.
Does that mean they just spend their days basking in the sun?
They're definitely sun worshippers. They're diurnal, which means they're active during the day and rely on the sun to regulate their body temperature.
I see.
So you'll often see them basking on rocks or open patches of sand.
Soaking up the rays.
Precisely, they need that warmth to get going for the day.
So what are they using all that energy for?
Well, they have a big job. They're like little guardians of the ecosystem.
Okay.
They have a huge appetite for insects, and that helps keep the insect population in check.
So what kind of bugs are we talking?
All sorts. Ants, beetles, grasshoppers, spiders, anything they can catch.
And they have a really cool hunting technique, right?
Oh, yeah, they're ambush predators.
I love that.
They'll sit perfectly still, camouflaged, waiting for the right moment, and then bam, they strike with incredible speed.
It's amazing how they just blend right in.
It is truly remarkable.
Of course, they're not just predators.
Right.
They're also an important food source for other animals.
That's the circle of life, right?
Exactly. So who are their main predators?
Birds of prey, snakes, even some mammals rely on sand lizards as part of their diet.
So they play a critical role in the food chain.
Absolutely. They're a vital link connecting different species within their ecosystem.
And speaking of connections, their breeding season sounds pretty fascinating.
It's a sight to behold. The males become very territorial, they show off their bright colors, and they'll even wrestle with each other.
All to win over a mate?
Precisely, the competition can be fierce.
Wow. So once a female chooses a mate, what happens then?
She'll dig a burrow in the warm sand and lay her eggs.
And do the parents stick around?
Nope. Sand lizard hatchlings are independent from the moment they're born.
Really?
They're miniature versions of the adults, and they instinctively know how to hunt and avoid danger.
That's incredible.
It is quite remarkable.
But given how specialized they are, what are the biggest threats they face?
Their biggest threat is habitat loss. As humans continue to develop land for housing, agriculture, and other uses, their natural habitat is shrinking.
Right, and climate change is probably making things worse.
Absolutely. Rising temperatures, changes in rainfall patterns can make their habitats unsuitable.
It's a worrying trend.
It is, but there's hope. Conservation efforts are underway.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yes, in many places there are protected species, so there's a lot of work being done to restore their habitat.
That's encouraging.
There are also captive breeding programs to help boost their populations.
That's great. What about us? Can we do anything to help?
Absolutely. Even small actions can make a difference.
Like what?
Simple things like reducing pesticide use in your garden, supporting local conservation groups, and advocating for the protection of natural spaces.
So it's about being mindful of their needs.
Exactly.
Well, it's been fascinating learning about these incredible creatures.
They are truly remarkable.
They may seem small and insignificant, but they play such a vital role.
They do. They're a reminder that every creature has a purpose in the web of life.
and that we need to protect them.
Absolutely. Their fate is intertwined with our own.
So here's something to think about. Given the challenges they face, what can we do to ensure the survival of sand lizards for future generations?
That's the question we all need to be asking.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a pleasure being here.
And we'll see you next time.
Until then.